Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Characters Explained, a series where I cover characters from the game Battle for Neighborville, to ultimately see if they're worth trying. And in today's video, we're covering possibly the most unique character in this game, that being Wizard. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So Wizard is a very interesting character, and I'm not just talking about his BFN version. Every game this guy has appeared in has given him something different, and BFN is the most wild take of this character. But to understand the BFN Wizard, let's look back on what he started off as. Also, real quick, let me just Oh, that's so much better. Sorry, I'm retiring the small screen format, I just don't like it anymore. Anyways, he was first introduced in PVZ 2, specifically in the Dark Ages. He's pretty annoying to deal with in this game because he actually turns your plants into sheep, and the only way they go back to normal is if you kill him. It's essentially a light octopus zombie, and that kinda sucks to fight. He also made an appearance in PVZ Heroes as a Gargantuar. Yeah, that's odd. I don't really know anything about this game, so I'm not gonna act like I understand the meta changes this character brings or whatever. All I know is that it's a strange change, but an interesting one at that. And that brings us to BFN, so let's move forward with the video. Wizard is a support character, and he's possibly the best character at doing just that, but we'll get there soon. He has 125 HP, and his primary, the Orba Kadabra, deals 18 damage normally with 22 as a crit. He also has a second charge attack that morphs 4 bullets into a ball that moves slowly, but deals 5 damage rapidly to whatever it touches. He has 16 ammo, and his RPM is 49.5, at least for his first attack. So his primary is overall pretty good, though I would be lying if I said that it's broken, because it's one of those primaries that you kind of have to learn how to use, so there's that. But now let's move on to his abilities, which make him really interesting to talk about. Starting off, we have the Z Elixir, which is a potion that gives buffs or debuffs to whatever it hits, depending on the target. If you throw this thing at yourself and or your teammates, it'll make the affected player/players immortal for a second or two. It also cleanses most negative effects on the players, which does include status effects. Finally, a counter to goop that isn't healing. To add to this, if this potion hits a plant, they lose the abilities to jump and sprint for a couple of seconds. Basically, it makes them sitting ducks for the most part. Overall, it's a pretty neat ability. Next up, we have Staff Slam. This ability lets Wizard slam his staff on the ground or even in the air if you desire, and when he does this, 6 purple orbs are unleashed from the staff. These orbs track any enemies nearby, and they deal 80 damage to the ones they can hit. To my knowledge, multiple orbs can't track the same person, but I could be wrong about that. Overall, there's not much more to this ability, it's just a good one. Now comes the final ability, and fittingly enough, it's by far the most interesting, and that's Co-Star. This ability basically puts Wizard on the head of any nearby players. When this happens, the affected player gains 25% armor, but that's not the interesting part of this ability. That would be what happens to Wizard. Wizard loses almost all movement options when he's in Co-Star, but in return, he gains a new primary that allows him to do some pretty good damage. Now, the damage being dealt here is pretty difficult to quantify, but roughly, Wizard does an average of 7.75 damage per shot in his form. Again, rough math here, but PopCap did something weird with this primary. There's also a few other things to mention here, too. He's allowed to use his abilities in this form, and when you and your teammate are facing the same direction, you even gain homing, which is pretty crazy. Wizard himself also now only has 65 HP, and when he's shot off of his pocketee's head, he gets stunned for a few seconds. Oh, and one last thing to mention is that this ability lasts roughly 45 seconds, so make that pocketing time count. Ooh. That was a lot to cover. Regardless, I think it's safe to say that Wizard is a very interesting character that's also pretty good, and he could turn into a whole different beast with his upgrades, so let's talk about them. So, as I said near the beginning of this video, Wizard is a very interesting character. He's got a unique primary, he has a very interesting set of abilities, and even his origins are pretty odd. But what if I told you that things were about to get even more interesting? Oh yeah, we're talking about his upgrades now. I'm not going to waste any more time, so let's get right into it. We'll start with his base upgrades, and we're beginning with Wizard Needs Help. This upgrade gives any ally that revives the Wizard with this upgrade on 50% armor while they're reviving. In a way, this upgrade is the exact opposite of Reviver reward. And while normally that would be pretty meh, I think it works with Wizard in particular because he's a pretty high value character to have with you. I have more to say about this, but let's move on before I have to get more reviving clips for this video. Wand Whammo is next, and it basically just increases Wizard's ammo to 22. Not much more to say about this one, it's just a solid upgrade. And technically, the final normal upgrade for Wizard is Slow Your Roll, which essentially slows down the secondary orb attack that Wizard can do whenever it touches an enemy. This one's also pretty solid, and I don't really have much more to say about this one either, so let's move on to the ability upgrades. Starting off with the Z Elixir upgrades, we have Elder Alchemist and Bottle Bouncer. Elder Alchemist starts health regeneration for any ally hit by your potion, and that does include yourself. So on top of having a decent counter to most attacks temporarily, you can also heal yourself or others with one fell swoop. Yeah, that's not unbalanced in the slightest. As for Bottle Bouncer, this upgrade simply places a potion on Wizard himself, and another potion is thrown out like normal. This upgrade is his most expensive, so it's definitely really good, but it's also not something I'd personally recommend to anyone who wants to improve their Wizard skills. Next up are the Spell Disaster upgrades, and those are Viosa and Dust and Echoes. Viosa makes an explosion at Wizard's feet whenever he slams his staff. Interestingly enough, this explosion could do just enough damage to vanquish a pea shooter, and that alone explains this upgrade pretty well. Dust and Echoes, on the other hand, is a bit more situational. This one makes any enemy vanquished by Spell Disaster unrevivable, and while that would be good in certain circumstances, considering how both upgrades use the staff, I would lean towards Viosa more. Finally, we have the 3 co-star upgrades, and yes, I do mean 3. Remember that remark I made about a technicality and how many normal upgrades Wizard has? Well, this right here is why. Blinders Off. Marketed as a normal Wizard upgrade, it's anything but, as it gives Wizard a lot more leeway in terms of getting the homing on his primary while in co-star. To put it into simple terms, this upgrade increases the homing reach to about 180 degrees. Wow, this one is obviously pretty good, and we've got 2 more to get through, so let's just move on. The other 2 upgrades are Two-Headed Dragon and Drive-By Head Rub. Two-Headed Dragon rewards Wizard more time to sit on a teammate's head and co-star whenever he or the pocketed teammate get a vanquish. And before you ask, yes, this does work on just about anything that can be vanquished. This one is disgusting, and it single-handedly makes pocketing trivial with this character. Like with many other upgrades in this video, I won't cover more of it for now, but I could seriously make an entire video on just how broken this upgrade actually is. But for now, let's discuss the final Wizard upgrade, that being Drive-By Head Rub. This upgrade essentially gives 50% armor to whatever Wizard pockets for 8 seconds after he leaves them. Simple and effective, my 2 favorite words to use when I'm explaining upgrades. So Wizard has a lot going on. Yeah, I don't think anyone can deny that. And because he has a lot going on, I made 3 example builds for the character, which all use some of his quirks in the best ways possible. Starting off, we have my build that I've been using for most of the multiplayer footage you've seen in this video. This build is Refreshing Revive, Blinders Off, and Two-Headed Dragon. Blinders Off and Two-Headed Dragon make pocketing easier than ever, and Refreshing Revive is helpful if you're trying to revive teammates, while also being able to get any potential abilities back if they're on cooldown. Another build I use sometimes is a bit more selfish, with Two-Headed Dragon, Wand Whammo, and Viosa. Two-Headed Dragon is still here only because sometimes you'll want to pocket somebody for your own benefit, and it can help pretty well. One final build I have is for the true support wizards, using Bottle Bouncer and Two-Headed Dragon. Want to keep an aggressive teammate alive as long as possible? Want to stay on said teammate as long as possible? Well, this should do the trick just fine. And that's pretty much everything about Wizard that I can cover. So with that being said, is Wizard worth getting? Yeah, absolutely. Don't get me wrong, he's not for everybody. Some people simply don't like the playstyle, but if you want to try out a character that's not only supportive, but is also very good on their own, well, that March prize map is right around the corner. So do yourself a favor and try to get Wizard. And that about wraps it up for me. Thank you so much for watching until the end, I really do appreciate it. You know, this is the first character I've covered in a while that has genuinely intrigued me, and because of that, I actually have another highly experimental Wizard video in the works right now. So keep up to date on my channel if you want to see what that is by subscribing. Let me know your thoughts on Wizard in the comment section down below, and I'll be seeing you guys in my next video. Peace.